Red Bull has Max Verstappen signed until 2028, but Austria could make that contract look fragile. That is the contradiction hanging over their home race. This should be Red Bull's safest weekend, the loudest crowd, the most familiar stage, the place where Verstappen looks untouchable again. Instead, it arrives with a car still searching for answers, rivals smelling weakness, and a champion whose future may not be as locked as the paperwork suggests. The standings already make the story uncomfortable. Red Bull is only fourth in the constructors, while Verstappen sits seventh in the drivers. Mercedes, Ferrari, and McLaren are not chasing the old Red Bull anymore. They are ahead of them. Every strong lap from Antonelli, Hamilton, Russell, Leclerc, Norris, or Piastri adds pressure to Milton Keynes. The RB22 does not just need pace now, it needs to convince Max this project still has a winning future. This is the part that changes everything. Verstappen's contract is not just protection for Red Bull. If performance language is inside that deal, then every weekend becomes evidence. Austria should be where Red Bull reminds everyone who they are. But if the car feels nervous again, the question becomes much colder. Before Red Bull can talk about loyalty, they must explain what power that clause really gives Max. The clause matters because it changes who has control. Red Bull can say Verstappen is contracted until 2028, but a long deal does not mean total safety. In Formula One, the driver with options holds power. Verstappen has world titles, status, time, and a reported performance escape route. That gives him leverage without needing to say anything wild. He can stay calm while the pressure lands on Red Bull. Laurent Mekies has to sound relaxed in public. That is the job. But the numbers are not relaxed. Verstappen in 7th and Red Bull in 4th turns every interview answer into damage control. Mercedes, Ferrari, and McLaren are not waiting for Red Bull to recover. They are building stronger arguments race by race. That makes the contract feel less like a wall and more like a warning. A normal contract closes doors. A performance clause keeps one open. If Red Bull finds pace, the noise gets quieter. If the RB22 keeps missing the front, the clause gets louder without Max needing to threaten anyone. That is why Austria is dangerous. Red Bull cannot hide behind patience at their own track. They need proof, and they need it in public. Austria should protect Red Bull, but it could expose them. The Red Bull ring carries their name, their crowd, and Verstappen's strongest memories of control. That makes the pressure sharper. If the RB22 looks difficult somewhere else, it is a technical issue. If it looks difficult here, it becomes a message. Even Red Bull's own ground may no longer feel safe. The track gives no hiding space. The lap is only 4.22.6 kilometers, and the race runs for 71 laps. Heavy braking into Turn 1, Turn 3, and Turn 4 keeps punishing the same weakness again and again. Curbs disturb balance. Short straights expose deployment. If Red Bull has vibrations, software issues, or poor braking feel, Verstappen will know before the lap time tells the full story. That is what makes this weekend brutal. A decent result can still feel worrying if the car looks hard to trust. A 4th place in practice may sound close, but if Mercedes, Ferrari, and McLaren look cleaner, Red Bull's home race starts carrying a darker meaning. Max does not need Austria to answer his whole future. He needs it to show the car is coming toward him, not drifting away. Mercedes, Ferrari, and McLaren have turned Red Bull's problem into a public fight. They are not giving Verstappen a quiet season to wait and hope. They are showing him 3 stronger stories every weekend. Mercedes has control. Ferrari has belief. McLaren has balance. That is why Red Bull's problem is no longer only inside their garage. The rivals are making the weakness visible. The championship table makes it sharper. Mercedes leads with 262 points. Ferrari has 190. McLaren has 141. And Red Bull sits on 89. Those numbers change how everyone reads the season. Antonelli gives Mercedes a title story. Russell keeps their threat deep. Hamilton gives Ferrari momentum. Leclerc keeps Ferrari dangerous. Norris and Piastri give McLaren steady pressure from both cars. Red Bull is not fighting one rival. They are fighting 3 directions at once. The old Red Bull offer was simple. Stay here because this is where you win. Now the offer is harder. Stay here because we can come back. That asks a champion to believe before the evidence is complete. Verstappen knows what domination feels like. He will not be sold by history alone. The next argument has to come from the car. Verstappen does not judge Red Bull through press lines. He judges them through the steering wheel. If the front does not bite, if the rear moves late, or if the brakes feel different from lap to lap, the issue becomes bigger than speed. It becomes a warning about direction. Max can fight a difficult car, but he needs one that answers him clearly. That is why the RB22 is now Red Bull's strongest argument. It must give Max clean braking, stable balance, sharp response, and confidence on throttle. Even 1/10 lost on corner exit can hurt the next straight and damage tire life. Gianpiero Lambiase can help turn Max's feeling into setup direction, but the car still has to prove the project is moving toward him. Red Bull can fix a floor, they can change a wing, they can rebuild setup overnight. But they cannot fully control the rulebook. The 2026 cars bring active aero, heavier energy management, and a different power unit balance. That matters, because Verstappen's concern is not only whether Red Bull can find lap time, it is whether the next era still feels worth driving. That makes the clause more dangerous. It may protect Max from a slow Red Bull, but it may also protect him from a future he does not fully believe in. Mechanics can promise progress, Ford can promise development, engineers can chase cooling, deployment, and drivability, but Red Bull still has to sell Verstappen something bigger than points. They have to sell him the next era. Now the pressure has a clock. If the reported performance language is tied to championship position, then every race before the key window matters. Every point Max gains softens the story. Every point lost makes it sharper. Austria is not just a home race anymore. It is part of the countdown Red Bull cannot ignore. The standings make that countdown real. Antonelli leads the drivers. Hamilton keeps Ferrari close. Russell gives Mercedes a second threat. Verstappen in 7th leaves Red Bull exposed. In the teams table, Mercedes has 262, Ferrari has 190, McLaren has 141, and Red Bull has 89. One strong Sunday can calm headlines, but Max needs a pattern. If Austria does not show that pattern, the scoreboard will speak louder than any denial. Austria will not decide Verstappen's whole future, but it can change how everyone reads it. Red Bull does not need a miracle. They need control, clean braking, real race pace, tires that stay alive, calm radio, a car that lets Max attack instead of manage. That is the proof Verstappen will trust. If Austria goes wrong, the damage will be harder to hide. Not because one race ends anything, but because it would fit the pattern Red Bull needs to break. Mechanics can manage the message, Lambiase can help Max extract speed, Ford can keep building. But the question remains, if the future still looks uncertain, why would the most wanted driver on the grid give up his leverage early? Verstappen is not acting desperate. He is acting like a champion who knows his value. Red Bull's job is not to kill rumors with words. Their job is to make the future look fast, stable, and serious enough that Max no longer needs the door open. The contract may carry his name, but Austria will show whether Red Bull still carries his belief.